Hello class, and welcome to our very small section of History 222, Classical History and Civilization. So in this course we're going to look at the Greek and Roman civilizations primarily, and really look at kind of the origins of what we now call Western civilization, or what we now think of, or used to think of, as Western civilization. Which again, seems pretty kind of obscure and abstract. But I think you'll see as we go through this course that a lot of the stuff that we're talking about still lives, still exists. The traditions of the classical world have been kind of mutated and adopted and modified. But there's a lot of things that we're going to look at. Questions of religion and government and society and how we make sense of all this. It's going to be pretty familiar that this stuff lives on in the present day. So, that's kind of the goal for the course, that by understanding these ancient cultures that stand at the foundation of our own culture, we understand our present a little bit better. So to do that, we're going to go through one main book, that's D. Brendan Nagel, The Ancient World, A Social and Cultural History, and we're going to supplement that by reading a kind of cultural work from the time, the Odyssey. And again, I've got in the syllabus, which you'll find in an email to you, on the course Blackboard site, and a bunch of other places. I'll detail kind of the edition that I'm using for the Odyssey in there. And I've chosen this book because there's a couple different themes that we can play on. It is a book about travel, about war, about masculinity. There's a lot of different kind of threads that we can pull on that I think will give you guys some, you ladies, I should say. It's two or three women in this class. That'll give you ladies something, enough kind of facets to approach it on that you'll find something that interests you. You'll find something that's relevant. And then, in addition to those two texts, there's a number of other readings and resources that's going to be available on the website. And I've mentioned the website a couple times. You are probably or hopefully watching this on the class Blackboard site. The entire class is going to run through Blackboard. You're not going to really need to, go anywhere else. Certainly, there's no in-person component to this, so the entire course will run off there. How you'll be graded. So the main part of your grade, 40%, is going to be the critical analysis paper that connects the Odyssey to some of the bigger themes that we're talking about in the course. And again, that'll have its own kind of little packet on Blackboard that you can kind of go in there and read the particulars on that assignment. But yeah, history is a written medium. The historians go exactly as far as the writing takes them. The text, the journal article in the book is how we communicate, how we kind of judge each other. So even though you guys are not history majors, it's still, part of the job of this course is to give you an insight into the world of academic history. Writing is the biggest part of that. No one cares about your ability to memorize a lot of these facts. I think it's cool. I think it's good for you if you can. But who won the Battle of Marathon? If someone's pointing a gun at you and asking you that question, the bigger problem is the guy pointing the gun rather than you not knowing off the top of your head who the commanding general was at Marathon. So I'm not big on quizzes and kind of the trivia type stuff. At least not for grades, not for figuring out what's important to this class. But how you structure an argument, how you present an argument, that matters to me. And that's going to serve you in your careers past this. We live in a world where your email is how you will meet every boss you ever have, for the most part. Thanks to the miracle of Match.com and Tinder, writing is how you will probably meet your prospective mates. If you can't write, you're going to have a pretty small, unlimited life. So the focus of the paper is to make you focus on your writing. And as much as possible, I want to help you with that. This isn't a shorter course, but because there's so few of us, I can really look at drafts. If you want to kind of, pre-write some of your paper, send it to me, make sure that it fits my kind of requirements, what I'm looking for, do that. And we'll be able to take the time to really kind of go through with a pretty fine-tooth comb and make sure that your writing is as strong as it can be. So, that's going to be most of it, making an argument and presenting it in that 5 to 7 page critical analysis paper. After that, everything is even 20%. Participation on the discussion forums. Trying something kind of new here. I've taught online for several years now. I've never been happy with how I've done the online forums. So each unit, there's 16 odd in this class. So each unit is going to have a discussion board. Again, you're going to reach that by going into the discussion board tab on the left-hand side of the Blackboard page. For whatever reason, they don't display right if I put them in with the unit packages in the kind of the course units section. So sorry about that. That's a Blackboard thing I tried. So go in there. There's going to be one thread where you can post any questions you have about the reading. Kind of go in there again. Anything that doesn't make sense, that's your space to ask questions. I'll answer them, or your classmates can answer them. Preferably the classmates. If I can get guys talking to each other, I've done something good here. So let's aim for that. So that's going to be one thread. And the other, there's going to be just kind of an opinion question. Something where, again, you come up with something to say and articulate how you say it. Where you voice your opinion in some kind of structured, organized fashion. So that'll kind of try to connect these readings to the present day, again, part of the mission of this course. To receive full credit on these, make them about a paragraph, somewhere 1 or 2 paragraphs, something around a page. Don't go crazy, and don't treat these as if they're papers in and of themselves. I'm just looking to see if I can provoke some kind of response, or if we can get some kind of conversation going. So just give me, a little bit to kind of chew down on, and you'll receive full participation credit. That's the easiest part of this course, is just chatting a little bit. Each unit will also end with a little quiz or writing assignment. Again, this will be this page or 2 pages, thing for these. And again, some kind of question, more factual from the reading. Again, you're still, you're still presenting an answer to that question, and then backing that up with, supporting arguments or supporting details. But again, this is all going to be kind of drawn from the reading. This is to make sure that you are doing the readings. This is to make sure that you get the readings. And then I will ask 2 bigger questions as a midterm and final, just to have something to kind of anchor this on. These will be 3 to 5 page answers. And they'll be a little bit more thematic, rather than just asking about, what did Nagel talk about in this chapter? Big picture, what did we learn about Greece? What did we learn about Rome? Those, the final questions, the test questions, the midterm and final questions, will kind of focus, on each of those respectively. Again, Greece and Rome are the stars of the show. We'll do Egypt a little bit. We'll squeeze them in there. But even, I think these different cultures, these different civilizations, they're really quite a bit more intertwined than they're often given credit for, particularly by the time you get to, Cleopatra, who you've hopefully heard of before. Egypt is essentially a Greek kind of polity. It's a Greek state. That's a tricky word. A Greek culture. Greek-infused culture. So, that's how we come up with your grade. Scrolling down here, academic standards. Again, plagiarism. You should know what that is at this point. That you're taking someone's words, offline, from someone else's notebook. Somehow, you're taking someone else's words and passing it off as your own. Just please, please, please don't do that. This is an independent study. This is something that you guys are not needing to do. Don't end up with a failing grade because of taking someone's work offline. Again, you're adults, you know this. I'm not going to belabor the point too much. If anyone's by campus, the Learning Resource Center is a great resource, particularly if you're having trouble with writing. I don't know if I think they do online, kind of distance appointments, so even if you're not around the college, or if you're working, which I assume you are, there might still be a way to kind of work out a meeting with the LRC to tweak your writing or to review your writing if you want to do that. And again, I think having, again, I'm a PhD student at a pretty decent university. Whenever possible, I try to get my work over to the Writing Center just to have another set of eyes looking at it. There's no shame in this. So, please do that. It helps. Course objectives. Again, talked about some of that already. And then we get into the breakdown. I'm going through the syllabus. I don't know if I ever said those words. So, going through the syllabus, you'll get to the section labeled Course Schedule. And this gives you the different unit breakdowns for the course. So you have the title, what you're required to read, and again, for each unit there's going to be one chapter or out of Nagel, with one exception where you get 2 chapters, and then there's going to be something that goes with that. Scans that I've put in from other books, primary documents that I found online, which there's not until we get into kind of the later Greek and Roman period, there's not a whole lot of this written down. Not in a way that's going to be interesting to look at, or you're going to be able to get anything out of. So relying a lot on kind of other voices here. One of the more frequent ones that I've made use of is a podcast by BBC4, that British podcast called In Our Time, where they have a historian sit down with 3 other historians, and they'll talk about an issue. This is good to get, it's a pretty good way to cover a lot of ground in about a half hour. That tends to be the length of these things. You can listen at work if you work in a place that you can have earbuds in. You can download the file and get it onto your device of choice. So it's useful for that. And I think it'll also introduce you to the concept of historiography. Historians don't always agree, and how we talk about certain issues has changed. Easy example from American history, the Civil War. You talk to a professional, respected academic historian in like 1890 or 1920, and they'll tell you that it was war of Northern aggression. That the country might have been better off if we kept the slaves, as slaves, if we kept black people as slaves, and that really this was all a big tragic misunderstanding that didn't need to happen. You talk to a historian nowadays, you're going to get a very different answer to that question. Again, the differences are not always that dramatic, and you certainly don't have to have differences in time period. That there's people writing today that disagree on certain issues. So these In Our Time podcasts, in those panels of historians, you'll sometimes get a difference of opinion, and it's interesting to hear how historians voice that, how those differences of opinions kind of jive and are expressed. So that's the reading, the discussion questions. Again, these are something that you can go find on the discussion boards. For Unit 1, I did set up an icebreaker activity, just as a way to get to know you guys, ladies. That the Romans, many Roman households included a section, a room, depending on how big and how wealthy the family was, called a lararium, where they would go and worship the spirits of their dead ancestors. So, as an icebreaker, again, go to the discussion forum and write up, what is a deceased relative that you have. I'm expecting a lot of grandparents on this. Some deceased relative that has meant a lot to your family, that you look back with particular respect. Explain kind of why, who this person was, what they did that was so remarkable, how that impacts your life. So again, it'll serve as kind of an interesting icebreaker that kind of fits the theme of the course. And I think it also gets you thinking in the mindset of these people that, death and those that had died, they're not perhaps as distant as we tend to make them today. Either, I'm assuming that everyone that we're talking to, and that I'm talking to here, is either a practicing Christian or grew up in a world and society that is influenced by kind of Christian belief. And so, ideas of death and the afterlife are different today than they would have been back then. And like the concept of a heaven, or that the dead go on to some better place, wasn't always as clearly expressed. So by kind of worshiping your ancestors, it's a way to kind of keep their memories, with you in a way that we don't quite do it the same way these days. So do that on the discussion board, and then we'll go into the usual discussion questions from there, and starting with Unit 2 is the more traditional breakdown. The only unit that's a big change is Unit 12, all the way down to Week 7. It's easier to just take this period of the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, do it all in one chunk. It's 2 chapters in Nagel, so there's not going to be any supplemental readings there. The supplemental reading is the 2nd chapter of Nagel, or the 12th chapter of Nagel, I should say. So go through those and then proceed as normal. In weeks where you have a paper or exam due, it's just 1 unit on that week. Otherwise, it's 2 units a week, which should be, again, it's a compressed course. We're doing this pretty fast. But you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have signed up for this if you couldn't keep up. So, again, try to get through 2 of these per week. I think technically the school week ends on a Thursday. Obviously, if you want to wait till the weekend to to get your work in, that's fine. There's not a lot of hard due dates other than the midterm and the final exam. Try and hit those kind of as benchmarks. So, and the paper, of course, because I need time. Even though there's so few of you, I do need time to grade these things, and I've got my own projects going on. So, to a week, if you're having a hard time keeping that pace, any other reason, if you have any other needs at all, let me know. Always, I have an open inbox, I guess. So please, be in communication with anything that I can do to help or make you feel more comfortable, or to help you get a handle on this assignment, or on these assignments, as best I can. Okay, so good luck, and I will see you in the course.